It's been a long wait, but the Stanley Cup Finals finally begin tonight, and someone is going to be hoisting the Stanley Cup for the very first time. The Vegas Golden Knights, who have been in the finals about 5 years ago, and for Florida, their first time in 27 years. So, a lot of good storylines here. Quite an unpredictable playoffs. Florida, what a story they've been. And for Vegas, it feels like their Cinderella run was in 2018, where they almost won. And this time, maybe the roles are reversed, and Florida will be that team on their Cinderella run, looking to finally create a Cinderella story, right? All right, so before we get into the preview today, we'll first take a look at my bracket for the playoffs, and it doesn't look pretty, but at the same time, my Western Conference has not been terrible. I've gotten a good chunk of these right, at least, and at least one of the finalists I did have in the finals, so it's not a complete flop for me in my bracket. The East looks very ugly, but I guess it's not horrible. And over 50% of my possible points, so not really going to be complaining there. All right, so the series schedule. All games will be at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And of course, game one will be tonight. And the last possible day of the Stanley Cup playoffs would be Monday, June the 19th. So we'll see if it gets that far. But a lot of rest days, especially after game four, with 2 days of rest in between each game. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of weights. It's gonna be tough on the viewers, possibly, for waiting that long between each game. All right, so let's get into the preview now. Game one is tonight at 5 p.m. Pacific time in Vegas at T-Mobile Arena. Let's take a look at the numbers and all of that first before we get into some of the storylines that we are presented with. So in the Vegas Golden Knights, 51-22-9 on the year, 111 points. They defeated the Winnipeg Jets in 5 games, the Edmonton Oilers in 6 games, and most recently the Dallas Stars in 6 games. They scored 62 goals and allowed 45. Their top point leaders are Jack Eichel with 18 points, Jonathan Marchessault with 17 points, Ivan Barbashev and Mark Stone, each with 15 points, and William Karlsson at 10 goals and 14 points. Their goaltending, Aiden Hill, has been quite the story for Vegas after Laurent Brossoit was sidelined with injury. Hill 7-3 in the playoffs, 2.07 goals against average, 937 save percentage, actually better numbers than Sergei Bobrovsky, believe it or not. And Brossoit will maybe come back for the series as the backup. If not, Jonathan Quick will be there. And Brossoit has a 5-2 record, 94 save percentage, the same as the end of the last round. Power play for Vegas, 18.5%. Some improvement here and there, but Vegas has never been really a very strong power play team, so no surprise that they're not above 20% here. Oh, that needs to change here, in my opinion. Penalty killing 63%, largely due to the Edmonton series, so I wouldn't put too much stock in that number. And the season series was tied with Vegas scoring one extra goal in the Panthers. Now, for the Panthers side of things, 42, 32, and 92 points on the year. What a run they've had, defeating the Boston Bruins in 7 games, the Maple Leafs in 5 games, and the Hurricanes in a sweep. So that's team one and team two in Boston and Carolina that they beat. And Toronto, no slouch either in the league either. So we want Florida. It was 450 for Florida, and they allowed 43. not a lot of goal scoring in the conference finals for Florida, but at the same time, they didn't allow much either. So there's that. Points leaders Matthew Tkachuk, runner for Conn Smythe of Florida, ends up winning this thing. Tkachuk could be potentially a Conn Smythe candidate. Carter Verhaeghe, 15 points there as well. Barkov, 14 points. Sam Reinhart, 11 points. And Sam Bennett, 11 points. Goaltending, obviously the big story is Sergei Bobrovsky, 11-2 on the playoff run he's had. 2.21 goals against average, 935 save percentage, backed up by Alex Lyon, 1-2, 902 save percentage. Power play for Florida, 27.9%, 71.2% on the penalty kill. I expect a very high scoring series, honestly. But at the same time, with the way that Florida is played, I'm not sure what kind of style they will be playing with. Will they be playing a more open style like they did against Boston, or maybe a more conserved style like they did against Carolina? They'll have to adapt, of course. All right, so let's talk about some storylines here now. So obviously a very unpredictable matchup here. I don't know how many people predicted a Vegas Florida final. I think from the third round I could have sort of predicted this, but after this, after the third round, yeah, unpredictable, huh? All right, so Vegas, obviously they've had a great run making the playoffs in all but 1 year. This is their second appearance in the final in their lifetime of just 6 years. So very, very successful run that Vegas has been on, and they look better than ever, honestly. And for Florida, who had a lower average attendance than Columbus this season, man, has Florida really picked it up. And full credit to Paul Maurice and everyone on the Florida Panthers group. They've been definitely cutting it out. They've been battling. It's been a huge struggle, but they've made it feel pretty easy. So props to them. Now, season series doesn't really tell you much, and now I think for Florida, their path to victory will rest in the hands of what has produced for them in the previous three rounds, and Matthew Tkachuk continuing to be as dynamic and as important as he has been. And they'll thank Calgary for that, that's for sure. And for the other, Barkov, I think if Barkov has to definitely continue his defensive game and his balanced play, and obviously Sergei Bobrovsky has to be the same type of form that he's had in the past two rounds. Now, Florida does play a bit of a dangerous game because all four games in round three for Florida were decided by a single goal, and that means that they rely heavily on Sergei Bobrovsky, and some might call it unsustainable that Bobrovsky continues to play on this world beater heater, and yeah, it wouldn't be a wrong thing to assume. And for Vegas, they're very strong offensively. They have a great comeback mentality as well. They have trailed in many games and they've come back and still in those games, especially in Dallas. And they can also have some very, very convincing victories like they did against Dallas. And if we're talking about how balanced the offense is, maybe we do give the edge to Vegas here. And yeah, and their captain, Mark Stone, producing big names like Owen Marchessault, Ivan Barbashev, a great addition, and obviously Adin Hill. What a surprising turn of events. Adin Hill and Brossois being the two goalies that are handling this playoff run instead of Thompson and Quick. So, pretty interesting. Now, the special teams, as you see, look pretty lopsided in favor of Florida. I will mention once again that for Vegas, I think the penalty kill has been heavily misinterpreted because of Edmonton and how strong they are in the power play. So against a team that is not Edmonton, I will assume that Vegas's penalty kill will be markedly better. For the defense side of things, I do think Vegas also gets the edge in that with Trangelo and McNabb, Shea Theodore. Not to say that Florida is also not good defensively with Eric Ekblad, Brandon Montour, Gustav Forsling, and some of the defense has also chipped in a lot offensively, especially Brandon Montour, even though he didn't have any points against Carolina. Now the injuries for Vegas will be potentially Brett Howden, and otherwise Golden Knights have a pretty healthy team. Florida will also be pretty much healthy as well. Now, I've praised Vegas a lot so far, so my prediction is going to shock you in that my prediction is Florida in 6. I think although Florida has had that break, Vegas has also had that break too, albeit a bit shorter, but I think momentum is still on Florida's side, and Florida, I think, can have the fun that they want to have. But at the same time, I know how good Vegas is at how Vegas is when they're not messing around, especially what we saw in Game 6 against Dallas. There's no more playing games. Vegas definitely has that must-win mentality on their side, and if they don't win, that eventually will pose some questions towards management and all that, although they won't be fired, most definitely. And obviously, goalie battle between Bobrovsky and Hill. And in this scenario, I honestly would favor Bobrovsky because he is a veteran and I doubt he would be rattled as easily as someone who has had lesser experience in the playoffs. And Aiden Hill, I don't think he's really faced that adversity yet. But at the same time, he's done a great job so far, and he's filled in for Laurent Brossois very handily. Special teams, even though with what I said earlier, I still think they do favor Florida. Both teams have good depth. And honestly, there isn't much of reasoning I'm giving Florida my prediction here other than momentum and Sergei Bobrovsky. This might not age well. Bobrovsky might fall apart in game 1, and then but my heart is with Florida. But at the same time, objectively speaking, I do think Vegas has the edge. I think most people would think that, but at the same time, do not underestimate Florida and what they can do because they have shocked us this playoff year and they could be handing us one more. So definitely excited for this. Let me know who you think is going to win this series in the comment section below. Tell me why you think Vegas or Florida is going to win. Tell me your reasonings. Tell me how excited you are for this and all that. And that's going to be potentially my last video for the Stanley Cup playoffs. We'll see. But it's been great covering previews for this year of playoff hockey. Some of it has been admittedly a bit boring in terms of the hockey itself. But there has been great entertainment along the way, and Florida has been a great source of entertainment for sure. So I do look forward to this series. And with that, that will be it for the preview. So we'll see you later. Take care.